Okay. Mm, I'll just check with Sukriti. She's supposed to join.
Early morning for her, right?
Yeah, super early. I was wondering how she kind of managed. Because most of my US friends kind of said it's very difficult. Organizers, can you please? Mm, yep, Sukriti is here. Yep, perfect. Hi, Sukriti.
Hi, Nikhil.
Hi. So I think all of us are here. Okay, now what I would ask Bhavya in the security section, just allow participants to unmute. That's something you just have to remove it, and share the screen is already removed. Start the video. I'm removing it. Rest other organizers are made the co-host. Okay, just for the sake of security, guys. Is something I learned in the last webinar. So kind of making sure nothing wrong goes into the live sessions. Okay, so I'll basically hand over to the organizers. Bhavya, you can take over from here.
So, okay, sir. I think now we can start the session. So, yeah, a very good evening to one and all. I welcome you all to this webinar on MBA and management opportunities. Today, we have 6 panelists with us, Mr. Rohit Mohan, Mr. Tarun Krishnani, Ms. Sukriti Bhardwaj, Ms. Anamika Singh, Mr. Nikhil Jain, and Mr. Kartik Singla. Mr. Rohit Mohan is an IIT Bombay alumnus of the 2012-2011 batch who pursued his master's in aerospace structure. He worked as a project leader engineer at GE Aviation for more than 6 years. He is also an alumnus of the University of Warwick in England. Mr. Rohit Mohan has great expertise in consultancy and is currently working as a marketing consultant at Enerprac Energy Private Limited. Mr. Tarun Krishnani is an IIT-BHU alumnus of 2013 from the Department of Electrical Engineering. He did his MBA from the University of Michigan in the US. He has worked as a consultant at Sony India Software Center and Marathon, and as a senior business analyst at Flipkart and Tredence, and as a business associate at Supertext. Currently, he is working as an MBA intern in data science and product analytics, EPIFI. Ms. Sukriti Bhardwaj is an IIT-BHU alumnus of 2014 batch from the Department of Ceramic Engineering. She has over 6 years of experience in analytics and product management after working for companies like United Airlines, Flipkart, etc. in India. She decided to further her career goal and moved to the US to pursue her MBA from the University of Connecticut, the US. Currently works as a product manager at MyKarma. Herein, owing to her exemplary profile, she was awarded a full scholarship as well as graduate assistantship. Ms. Anamika Singh graduated from IIT Bombay from the Department of Chemical Engineering in 2015. She is currently pursuing MBA at Harvard Business School. Ms. Anamika Singh has over 4 years of experience as a product manager in companies like Abbott and Cogoport. Mr. Nikhil Jain is the co-founder and CEO at ForeignAdmits. He is an IIT-BHU batch of 2016 alumnus from the Department of Mining Engineering and a proud NC Jain scholar. He is also an alumnus of IIT Bombay and Monash University for his PhD journey. He was appointed as a mentor of change by Niti Aayog and has been featured as 30 under 30 in the higher education segment in a national magazine, Brainfeed. Mr. Kartik Singla graduated from IIT-BHU Department of Electrical Engineering in 2017. Mr. Kartik Singla is also an alumnus of IIM Calcutta and established Share Chapter there. Presently, he is a junior associate at McKinsey and Company. He has worked as a business operations associate at ZS, a global management consulting firm specializing in sales and marketing strategies. So now I'm sure everyone is pretty excited about this session. If you have any queries, feel free to drop your queries in the chat box. And now I would like to hand over the session to Mr. Nikhil Jain.
Thank you. Thank you, Bhavya. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Kartik, Rohit, Tarun, Sukriti. And I think Anamika is also joining in. All of the guys, just a small request. Please mute your microphone so that this session can be more productive. We can have a clear discussion, right? And just starting off the session, I would want all of the speakers, definitely there's a good introduction that has been given, but let's understand from each of you what's your journey. Okay, when we talk about journey, we basically talk about your bachelor's, your college background, what kind of course did you do, and what kind of college are you studying in, which country did you pick up, just a brief about your journey and what made you choose a particular college and course after your bachelor's is concerned. So we can start from, let's say, Kartik, and then we're going to pick it up.
Okay, sure. So hi everyone, good evening or good morning based on wherever you are. So as a brief introduction given, I am Kartik and I'm an IIT-BHU alumnus of 2017 batch, and I graduated from the Department of Electrical Engineering, and then I worked for a year at ZS Associates in Pune as a business operations associate. So if you talk about my MBA, I had actually decided to pursue an MBA in India, and hence I went on to do my MBA from IIM Calcutta, and currently I'm working as a consultant at McKinsey and Company. So talking about the decision of doing an MBA within India or abroad, so I kind of explored both the options, but according to me, because my long-term goal was to stay within India and do a job or might be opening up my own business in India. Hence, I wanted to pursue my MBA from a college within India. So I think that was the most important factor for me for choosing my higher education within India. Talking about my overall journey, I think it's been really good so far. And in IIT-BHU, I was involved in various other activities apart from core academics, you can say. So I was part of the tram cell, did some activities with the student parliament, as well as the training and placement office. So I kept myself involved there. And I even continued to pursue my passion in dramatics at IIM Calcutta. So I was a part of the tram cell at IIM Calcutta as well. So yeah, I think this is a brief introduction about me and my journey so far.
Sure. Yeah, I think Tarun can pick it up there.
Sure. So first of all, thank you for taking the initiative and congrats to all the students there for taking out time on a Sunday evening. It shows that you're serious about your career. So regarding my journey, my background, so there was a detailed introduction. So I did my graduation in electrical engineering from IIT-BHU in 2013. Before just graduating, I tried multiple internships in the electrical field to ensure that whether I want to be in electrical engineering sector or not. And I realized that's not my cup of tea. So I then moved into like whatever was available at that point of time. So I joined Sony India Software Center in their services team. Was exploring analytics from the last 1-2 years in 2013-14. Landed in an analytics-based startup based out of Bangalore. And from then I moved to Flipkart, worked there for 4.5 years. I wanted to do MBA in the international market and basically in the Asia market. So that's why I was exploring NUS, China Europe International Business School, which is based out of Shanghai, and also the Western and the as in the US and European B schools as well. And from China Europe International Business School, I got a chance to do exchange from Michigan Ross because it was specializing in supply chain and product management. Currently, like I'm done with my classes. I'm like in the placement season right now. So looking forward for all the questions. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, over to Sukriti.
Hi, everyone. Thank you again for joining. Thank you, Bhavya, for a great introduction. I'm sure it was enough, but let me tell you more about my journey so far. I graduated from ceramic engineering in 2014. I was a dual degree student. I was also involved in a lot of curricular activities while I was in college, including the volleyball team. Then I was also part of training and placement cell. And then I was also part of theater. I tried almost everything. After that, once I graduated, I wanted to do job for a few years before decided to go to MBA. I did want to do MBA since second year of my college, so I knew that at some point I had to do it, but I wanted to gain some experience. So when I was in college, I didn't decide to do MBA from US or from abroad, but while I was working at Flipkart, I moved to United Airlines after a while, and my then boss was actually based out of Chicago. And while working with him, I realized that a global exposure is much more important for me, at least, while I plan to do my MBA. So I wanted to do my MBA from abroad at that point. I got a great mentor. My boss was my mentor. He was helping me with the applications. That's very lucky for me. But that's when I decided, let's do an MBA. I researched the colleges that I wanted to go in. He helped me a lot, and that's how I plan to do an MBA from University of Connecticut, and with a scholarship, of course. So that's my entire journey so far.
Interesting. Over to Rohit.
Hey all. Thanks for the introduction, Bhavya and Nikhil. And it's a pleasure talking to you all. And I'll try to keep it short about myself and my journey, because I think the session is meant for all of you, and how you can how you can take your career to the next step. So as Bhavya introduced me, I'm an aerospace engineer from IIT Bombay, and I worked for GE Aviation for 7 years before I moved to do my MBA from Warwick Business School. And one of the primary reasons behind doing an MBA was to get exposure to different business verticals. I was an engineer by choice at GE Aviation, and it was getting to me, my career was getting to a point wherein the next promotion or the next role wherein I will get will take me deeper into the technical aspects of the business and not into other business verticals. So that's when I decided that, yeah, that's not the career path that I would like to take in the future. And I started looking out for colleges within India and abroad. And as Sukriti just told, I was also really keen in getting a global exposure because of because of various reasons. One major reason being the diversity of the cohort. What I had in the UK and US colleges mainly. So I started looking out for these colleges in UK and US. And finally, Warwick Business School was the best fit for me. And that's how I chose Warwick Business School. And I think that was a great decision from my end. And I'm really glad that I took the choice at the right time. And right now I'm working as a marketing consultant at Enerpark, a German firm working on solar energy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, okay, guys. So we definitely got to know there's a diversity in this whole panel, and so let's come to something very structured and very basics to, what was the trigger point for all of you guys to think that yes, I want to do an MBA, or there's a need of an MBA in my career. So all of you can pick it up one by one.
Okay, so I can go first. So maybe during my college, as I told you, right, I was involved in different activities during my college. So I also tried to explore, first of all, in my second year, if I can do anything in electrical engineering, if that interests me. So, but unfortunately, I could not, find anything that would interest me in my core. So hence I started exploring other options. I had never liked software, so coding was another part that we could go in based on my background in electrical engineering. But again, that was also something that I found out that is really not my cup of tea. So then I started to explore the business side, and then I started to see how MBA can help me grow into a professional. So then I started taking up initiatives on the side of MBA. So like, to start very, very basic, in my college, I started to be a part of the marketing team of the fests, etc., just to give a small, flavor. Then after that, during my fourth year in placements, I took up a job as a consultant in one of the analytics consulting firms. So that offered me some exposure as to how the consulting world is, how the business world is. And then I realized, working at Z Associates, that okay, so from moving into analytics consulting firm to a business consulting or a management consulting firm, I would need a holistic knowledge of business. So hence I decided that okay, I would definitely want to pursue an MBA, and that too in India, because as I already mentioned, my long-term goal is to stay in India. So this, I think, was the trigger point where I kind of decided that okay, I will pursue my MBA, and then move into a management consulting firm as the first career choice.
Okay. What about Tarun?
Yeah, so pretty similar story as in the undergrad journey, as I told. When I was in Flipkart, so I was in the supply chain analytics team. And there, so when I was trying to move away from supply chain, or whenever I was going into meeting where you kind of require other kind of knowledge, other departments' knowledge, there I was falling short. So I could understand that, okay, I need to understand marketing if I want to participate in the marketing related meetings. Or if I'm talking to product managers, I don't need to talk about just from the analytics or supply chain point of view. I have to talk holistically. So this was basically a trigger point for me. I was in touch with all my managers and senior directors about what I want to do with my career. I got good mentors at Flipkart. My ex-manager who moved into product, one of the senior directors also was an MBA. So I got similar like such great mentors who kind of pushed me that you should go for an MBA with your background of analytics and ability to think analytically and the good problem solving. You should explore other business functions and go in order to move to the higher level and to the leadership levels. An MBA would be required at some point of time. So why not start preparing for it? So this was basically my trigger point, I would say.
Yeah. I think Tarun. Sorry, Sukriti. Yep.
So when I was in college, during my last year of college, I decided I had to do MBA at some point, but I wanted to do a job first, get an experience to explore options out there. I did not, at that point, I did not think whether I'd do it from India or abroad. Uh, then I started working in Flipkart and Snapdeal, and everything was going fine. The only thing was I was growing, but I was growing technically sound. As Tarun mentioned, I was technically having a lot of experience, but when it came to meetings with the senior stakeholders of different departments, I thought there was something that I was lacking in terms of management experience, in terms of business knowledge. And that notion actually got true when I did join United Airlines, and I was not talking to just people in India, not just the stakeholders in India, but I was talking to the stakeholders abroad, internationally, not just the US, all even from China, from Europe. And that's where I thought that I really need to cope up with my problems. I mean, not just the problems, the issues that I'm having in terms of organized thinking, organized management thinking. I can think from an analytical point of view, but I still lacked business experience, business knowledge. And talking to many people from across the world made me think that why not do an MBA that's not from here. That will give me an exposure to talk to other people. My cohort, like Rohit mentioned, my cohort will be from various countries. I will get an experience from people who have already worked not just in India, but from different parts of the world. And I did get it. I did get my classmates from Nigeria, from China, and that was such a great experience because I never knew the culture that's not from India and just not from the US. So that sort of triggered me a lot while I was in United Airlines.
Interesting. So here, I think Rohit has I would say, very good amount of experience before getting an MBA. So Rohit, during your career, what was the turning point where you thought that yes, this is the right time?
Yeah. So yeah, I think yeah. I mean, I had a long career before I started my MBA, like almost like 7 years of experience in aerospace. So yeah, I mean, I was really happy with the kind of work and the career path to a point. I would say like down a line like 5 years, and after that, I was getting promoted, and with each promotion, I was getting more and more deeper into the technical aspects of the project, which was great to a certain extent. But the other aspect, like people management or the project management aspects and the other finance aspects of the project, all those things were like really hidden from me. I mean, it was really out of scope for the current for the role which I was doing. And almost at the end of the 7th year, I was again going to get another promotion. And I was just trying to recalibrate my career path. And I took a step back and I started to visualize what really would motivate me. And I would say that was the trigger point for me. I understood that that is not something which I would be really excited on a long-term career perspective. So I think, yeah, I mean, that pretty much sums up my decision, how I wanted to do MBA.
Okay. So, when we talk about MBA, there's a whole bunch of questions that comes up, and one of the primary questions that has been more repeatedly coming is, what role did MBA play, in your career? Is MBA worth it? Because you guys have done it and some of you are doing it. So, how is MBA worth it in your career? How do you justify taking that leap of faith? Because again, people, when in India, when we compare about MBA, it's predominantly IIM or ISB, or maybe SPJ and few other likes of colleges. But when we look at MBA abroad, there are so many options. On the panel itself, we have from Warwick, from Connecticut, and even from other colleges also. And we might have even from Harvard and all. Okay. So how do you justify that? Is MBA is the only course worth it? Why not masters? Why MBA at that point of time? What was the thought process when you were choosing your courses? So yeah, I think anyone of you can pick it up, and then rest can follow it.
I can go. So as I previously mentioned, masters is a specialized course for something that you want to get an experience on fully. But MBA is something that you need an experience working on different areas of a business. It's not just marketing. During an MBA, the courses also are really important for finance, marketing, accounting, and everything combined together. So at some point, if you do really want to invest in a business, you want to be an owner of a business, and not just the ownership, if you want to move ahead in your management game, I guess in a company, that's where your MBA plays a role. Masters will give you more precise knowledge about the specific area that you're interested in, and even that helps in your management game, I guess. But for me, I wanted to get more experience in terms of how business functions, how each and every department can play a role while while working in a company. So that's one thing that you should look at, not just the ROI in terms of money, but the ROI in terms of your career and professional development. Where do you see yourself in 5 years, next 5 years? I would say a master's is something, if you see yourself being the master of your particular thing and you want to lead a team in that rationale where you are thinking, that's the best thing if you want to go for a master's. But if you want to be in the management game, you want to be in the management leaders, then that's one thing that you should consider for an MBA, and that's how you'll grow professionally. So that's one ROI you should consider, not just the money, I would say, but of course money is also important. Outside India, MBA is expensive, but I would say the ROI is worth it. Even in the money game, there are various scholarship opportunities, and I guess Nikhil is one of the best mentors you will get in terms of his company that is helping you all to get scholarships, how to get scholarships, and there are various opportunities, not just the scholarship, even getting a job over there while you are working. So you have to weigh in your ROI from both the perspectives, I would say.
Okay.
I can add one point. Like all points, I agree with Sukriti. So I was in the same phase. I was in analytics, and I was contemplating between masters in business analytics and MBA. So at that point of time, it's like whether you want to grow into analytics field in the analytics leadership, or you can, like, if you want to explore other areas, other business functions. So that's why an MBA was the factor there. So rest of the all points agree that the ROI would be worth it. Don't take it as a short-term ROI, take it as a long-term game. Talk to people, like if you see people 3 years, 4 years, 5 years down the line after MBA where they are right now, ask them, was an MBA worth it? You will get the answer. Yeah.
Interesting. So Rohit, you have spent a considerable amount of time in the industry, right? Before going for an MBA. So how do you reflect back, with your post MBA? Was the ROI worth it? Like, how did it shape up?
Yeah, I think, I mean, in the previous question, I think, you mentioned about the ROI and also about the specific region wherein you have to do an MBA, right? I think I'll try to tackle both the questions. Yes, I mean, definitely my previous experience and the previous exposure to the, the company proceedings and the procedures really helped me in getting a good understanding while I was doing the MBA. So, I mean, I'm just staying slightly away from the topic since, the main point is that you need to have a little bit of prior experience before you jump into making an MBA. So if you have got some kind of like previous experience and understand what are the challenges that the business faces, and if you come to a dead end by yourself, then MBA will add much more value and give you many more answers that if you go as a fresher. That is first aspect. And coming back to my experience and my career transition, yes, it has been a huge transition. Coming from a core technical aerospace background, I have moved to solar energy industry. And marketing is something which I have never done in the previous organization and which I have not really touched upon in my internships also. So yes, I mean, it's a huge transition, and the overall MBA experience and the diverse cohort and the interaction with all of them really helped me in getting into a smooth transition into marketing consultant right now. And maybe the last point, I think, which was asked in the first question was, how do you select the region, if I'm correct, right? Coming to India and the regions abroad. So my selection criteria was, one criteria was ROI. And the second one, the local language was one preference. And the third and most important aspect was the local industry over there. So for me, aerospace, UK really gave a lot of opportunities in aerospace and automotive industries, which I was really keen and which I had a really good experience in. So that was one of the criteria what I had when I selected UK. And very similarly, I would advise the students right now that if you are interested in a particular industry, let's say fashion industry, so by default, I would say Italy would be a great place for you to go and do your MBA. Italy is driven, the economy is driven by the fashion industry and the luxury industry. And very similarly, if you have to get into automotive industry or mechanical industry, Germany could be a great place for you to do an MBA. So, I mean, that could be some of the deciding criteria where you should do the MBA. And as Sukriti and Tarun just mentioned, ROI on a long-term basis is what you should be really looking at, and not a short-term basis. Obviously, MBA will reap a lot of benefits in the long-term run. So that sums up my
Interesting
experience. Yes.
Okay, let's come to a little bit more towards the Indian MBA selection. Kartik, what about your opinion, because again, a lot of people goes for CAT and IIM. Okay.
Yeah. So, first of all, tackling the first point on the ROI, I would definitely agree to all the other co-panelists here that ROI is not only in terms of monetary, but there's a lot more opportunities that MBA opens up. So, be it when you start your job after your graduation, you are expected to be in a particular field, whether it's analytics or if you take up your core job, you are expected to grow in that. But after you do an MBA, there are a lot more fields in terms of marketing, operations, finance, consulting, etc., where you can go to. So the type of opportunities that open up after MBA are actually quite immense. So you should also look at that point from an MBA. And the second point is, which I would definitely emphasize on, is the networking part. So you meet a lot of good people actually when you do MBA from a good business school. So that actually adds up to the type of network and the type of thinking that you are doing. So I think that would be the second point on the ROI part, that you should not only think in terms of monetary or money, but also think in the other value adds, which I think are quite important and quite big as compared to the money part.
Okay, since we were talking about money, there's a big difference between the fee structures of Indian MBAs versus, foreign MBAs. Okay, so a lot of people in India, we have like 20, I think 2 million plus applicants every year in the CAT, and it's growing, right? But not a lot of people going to go for CAT, for IIM, because again the highly competitive structure. And then with the foreign MBA, people usually worry about the cost, as although the panelists said it's a short-term investment for a long-term gain. But how do you decide whether to go for an Indian MBA versus a foreign MBA? What are the criteria to look towards if someone is planning for an Indian MBA versus someone is looking towards a foreign MBA? What to choose and why? If you guys can emphasize on certain pointers.
Okay, so maybe I can start and I can talk a bit more from an Indian context. So I think some of the key parameters to consider are, first, I would say, would be the interest that you have. So in India also now the options of doing masters are growing, right? Apart from the normal typical MBA that you have, there's also a course called PGDBA, which is Postgraduate Diploma in Business Analytics, that has been launched by IIM Calcutta and it's a course offered by 3 other institutes. So it depends a lot on what your interest for the future is. So it's not like the options are limited. That is the first point I want to make. So you should definitely choose your interest over, I would say, any hype in the market or any other peer pressure. That is the first point. The second point is, like, you should also definitely look at the opportunities that you get in a business school. So by opportunities, I not only mean that what are the type of companies that are visiting the campus, but in terms of, let's say, the type of exchange schools, the collaboration with exchange schools or partner schools that the particular B school has. Because I think exchange is also a very, very good and an immersive experience that you can have, even if you are a student at an Indian B school. So that is the second part. So I would say that opportunities in terms of exchange or companies visiting or the type of events having. And the third, I think, important factor would be the alum base. So I think alumni also play a very, very important role in a particular B school. And if you feel that the business school is strong, has a strong reputation, and the alum base is strong, then automatically there will be a lot of good people, huge network who will be supporting you for the future. So I think these are the three important parameters according to me, on which you can try and make a decision, at least in the Indian context.
Yeah, I think people from US or Tarun probably can pick it up, and then others can follow. Because again, US MBA and MBA from UK, there's a lot of bias. Before I move on to the international, B school alumni, there's a lot of bias opinion that is also out there in the market. You need to do an MBA, then it's only MIT, Harvard, Caltech, and Yale, and all those colleges. And sometimes the competition is too high because we are typical engineers. Most of them are from India, and the competition is really, really high. So, when you're looking at the foreign MBA, how the choices, how the, preparation has been, and then what are the things that person can look towards if they are looking towards a foreign MBA? What are the parameters that a foreign MBA gives compared to an Indian MBA when you were choosing?
I can start. So, just with respect to foreign MBA, so obviously you have to wait for a couple of years, at least 2 years. So some of the programs have the early admits, which you can try in fourth year, 2+2 kind of programs, in which you work for 2 years and then do a 2-year MBA. So the parameters that should be there is the kind of industry you want to get into. Let's say you are interested in finance, you want to get into hedge fund or something. So first contemplate whether an MBA is needed or a master's in finance is needed. An MBA is needed from either a Chicago Booth or a Wharton or a Harvard, or you can do like, obviously then you don't have to go to the East Coast, which are MBA programs which are expertise in tech related sectors. So apart from this, I guess when you're talking about finance, like how do I finance my MBA? This is also one of the factors. You will have to choose whether I go to ISB or go to US B schools or European B schools. You have to realize that the kind of placements that you'll get in foreign would be according to the foreign B schools. So the ROA is kind of same. You will get a 50-60% or 100% hike or something compared to your home school, home country. You were earning somewhere X, you will kind of earn 1.5x, 2x, or 2.5x in the other in the other markets. So yes, I think then Sukriti can add more with respect to US.
Yeah, I do agree with everything that Tarun said. And one thing that is really important when you decide to do MBA from foreign is your work experience. And I primarily want to focus on that is because in foreign MBA, it's not just one exam like India. You can pass CAT and you can get into MBA. The foreign MBA needs much more than that. Your entire profile needs to be very perfect, and that includes your professional experience, your SOP, your burden from your managers, your what I say recommendations, and that's not just from the professors. Your work experience and your manager's recommendations play a huge part of in your application process. So while you are deciding to do foreign MBA, that's one thing that you should consider. If you do want to do 2-3 years of work experience and then want to do an MBA, that's one thing that you can think of, that okay, now I can think of doing a foreign MBA because I have built myself a really great profile that is very shiny, that looks shiny on my foreign applications, foreign MBA applications. The second thing that I was thinking, of course, was ROI. And as Tarun mentioned, the industries are really important. I was working in analytics and I wanted to switch my career to not just the analytics, but product analytics. And that includes management, product management, analytics, both. So while I was searching for schools, I was looking at the courses that provide these both things. And and of course, I wanted to do an MBA from US. I decided to look for schools that are good in analytics, that are good in product management. And MBA is one thing that will allow you to actually switch your careers. If you want to suddenly move into HR marketing, analytics, people management, you can even do that. So a lot of people I've seen in my college who joined actually are doing now people analytics, HR analytics, and they were into core software engineering at some point. So one thing that I'm again focusing on is your entire profile. That is really, really important. Get an experience, build a rapport with your manager, you can get good recommendations, focus a lot on your SOP if you're planning to do from MBA from outside, and just don't make a generic SOP, I guess. Try to research a lot about the courses, about the professors, even research about the professor's profile. The professors that you can get in other colleges and not just the MITs would be so much beneficial for your career sometimes, because you gain a lot of experience and exposure from a global professor who has helped people from different countries grow and build their career. So that's what I think. I had this amazing professor at my college who has a very I mean, he has a very great reputation, not just in my college, but in the entire country, I would say. And that has helped me grow my career in terms of getting a job, getting an internship. So the smoothness of your career depends on what kind of professors, what kind of college courses the college provides. And of course, the final point that I want to make is the monetary part of it. Everyone thinks about it. I also thought about it. I had an option to choose to choose two colleges, and I did think about finances before deciding a college. But at some point, I've seen people who did not get any scholarship, got a loan, and repaid the loan within 2-3 years of their experience. Because as Tarun mentioned, your salary also grows exponentially. So if you're thinking on in terms of monetary benefits, that's also worth it.
Interesting. So let's move on to one interesting question that we have. When we look at Indian MBA versus foreign MBA, and I believe this is something I might want to ask this question again. A lot of MBA talks about specialization nowadays. We have MBAs from general management to specialized. What is your take on these specialized MBA versus general management MBA? How do one look to do a specialized MBA? Why not a master's then? If someone plans to do a specialized MBA, any take from any of the speakers is welcome.
Tarun, I think I can start. Sorry, Nikhil, I can start right now. Yeah, I mean, as we already discussed, what's the difference between MBA and master's program in management? I think Sukriti summed it up really well. What is the difference between the two, and what should be the decision criteria when you go for these two courses? And I myself did an general MBA from Warwick Business School. And yes, I was really keen in picking up the skills in operations and supply chain. And I had few electives which I selected eventually to get the knowledge of these topics. But believe me, rather than these what are the subjects or the electives, what I did over a period of time, when I compare it with the project work I did, that's the internship I did at an automotive company. So there was a huge difference between the amount of knowledge that I gathered from the experience at the company and the electives. Yes, obviously the electives and the courses give you a brief idea of what it feels like to work in a company. But the first-hand experience of working or like being there and being getting dirty in the field really gives you a lot of exposure and gives you a true idea of what really it feels like. So I think you should, if you have to pick up the skills in some areas or some particular domain, it is highly advised that you should pick up a pick up a company or an internship which aligns with your interest. That would give a lot more advantage and a lot more knowledge over to the specialization that you would choose. This is especially for the 1-year MBA and especially for the foreign MBAs or MBA students. I'm not really sure how it goes in IIMs and ISBs. Maybe Kartik would be a great person to talk about that.
Sure. So thanks, Rohit. I can talk a little about the Indian context. So in IIMs and ISB specifically, so we generally have a general management degree. So it's not like IIMs generally don't offer a specialization, but there are a few IIMs that I know of, like IIM Kozhikode and all, who offer minors degree. So in that, there are a specific set of courses or that you take in your second year, and based on that number, they give you a specialization or a minor's degree. But in a general management degree, I think one key point here is in your second year, you get to choose your electives. So if you are specifically interested in a field, let's say finance, operations, supply chain, marketing, etc., so you have the choice to pick up electives, and you can pick all of your electives in that specific field. So I would say that even though the specialization options would be limited, but at the same time, you need to be very, very sure that you have to, pick up that field and go be explore that field. Because I think the overall MBA purpose is more of on a flexibility point of view. So it might also limit your, future goals in terms of your long-term goals if you try to specialize too much into one specific field. Because and the long term, then the mobility or the flexibility options might be slightly limited.
Interesting. So let's move on to the next question. Yeah. And again, this is again a very common trend that I picked up, while speaking to students. A lot of freshers look towards doing an MBA, because again, it comes from the very root problem. We did an engineering when we didn't knew what to do, okay, and then we kind of figure out, okay, I want to go towards management, okay. So is work experience mandatory for MBA? If yes, then at least by how much? And what do we define here as work experience? If no, then what are the other options do we have for alternative to MBA, which are still lucrative for the freshers? I would not quote a particular course like MIM, but feel free to add on any specialized course that you guys know of.
I can go ahead. So when I was in second and third year, I was also trying for CAT, joint time, Lanka, BHU. And then, yeah, so this is the same thing that Nikhil mentioned, that I went to IIT. I didn't know why I went into IIT. And the same thing was kind of happening when I was trying to do, choose MBA, right? So there you need to realize that when you go for an MBA, the kind of courses you have, the kind of people you interact with, you will be able to learn more if you add value. So if you think that you have learned enough in college, you have participated in tech festivals, like the business activities and clubs, everything that is there, you have developed your profile and you know that, okay, I want an MBA, then go for the MBAs which don't require experience. If you want to go abroad and do an MBA, then you have to have minimum 2 years experience. If you immediately want to go, then explore the MIM programs or the go in masters in business analytics if you want to explore that side. But realize that you will be able to add value and extract value from the colleges, from other students, from the network there, only like if you have certain years of experience. You'll realize over a period of time, going to a company, and when you're kind of adding value, you're moving the metrics, moving the needle in the company, and I want to do more things, I want to explore the other side of my current profile. Then you kind of say that, okay, this is how I would go into an MBA. Now I'll kind of realize, see all other factors that are there. If I am and first of all, like in the last question also for the specialized part, if you see that if you're in supply chain and you want to get in supply chain kind of an MBA, then go towards colleges who are also doing the general MBA programs. But so that you have perspectives of other business functions also. That would be my take. Yeah.
I can go next. So again, as everyone mentioned, no one really knows what to do when they're in college, because you get so much involved in the extracurricular activities. And that's when you think about what to do in your career. And I also, as Tarun mentioned, joined time, started preparing for CAT at some point in IIT-BHU. But I did decide that I have to do some experience before moving towards an MBA. And that was decided even when I was doing my coaching. So once I got a job, I really waited for like 2 years to get an experience, do an MBA. The one thing that is really important in choosing between whether to get an experience or not is think about what you want to do in your careers long term. If you and there are so many programs that are related to your career goals. If you do want to specialize, suppose you are a mechanical engineer and you don't want to do an MBA, you do want to do masters in mechanical engineering, and you want to explore your careers not just in India but in the US, go for your master's program in mechanical engineering, and you can be You can get so many options by working in global companies, even in the management side of it. And one thing that is really that I think that has really helped other people who I have seen doing masters and not MBA is the versatility of courses in the US. While you are specializing in one course, you have the ability to choose as many courses as you want. If you really at some point want to do a course that is in computer science engineering and you are doing an MBA, you are actually allowed to do so. So that if you do want to do a master's degree, you can always take management courses that are really important for you, and you can still be a mechanical engineer and reach up to the ladder of management by taking those courses, by building your career that way. So I want to focus, if you want to do MBA from abroad, work experience is highly mandatory, and that's because there is huge competition. It's just the competition not from India but from all the other countries in the world, and people from there apply with experience. And you may have an exemplary profile, but you do need experience to prove that. So when you're thinking about India and US, that's one criteria to think about. Whether you want to do it right now, then you should focus on doing it from India. If you want to have some experience, then do it. I think that's when you should take a chance of doing it from any other countries.
Okay, so coming to one interesting question that we are getting repeatedly again is, how basically, again, it's a very basic question out here for a lot of students, when you are preparing, differentiating how they can break into a management industry just after college. Okay, that's one particular thing. And what are the things they can do to basically break into, a non-technical industry? So that's something. Do you guys have any pointers on that? Like, how do someone from IIT, even from not from IIT, because the stream is live all across the globe, so how they can break into the management industry, what they can do to basically build a profile to get into the management industry at an early stage, and then probably figure out for the MBA?
That's an interesting question. I can take this. So essentially, like, how do I get into management roles without an MBA or directly just after Btech? So first of all, you need, the first factor is you need to network. You need to reach out to people who have broken into let's say PE, VC, private equity, and venture capital roles just directly after their Btech, or maybe in marketing. So you'll kind of see that they started working on the profile right in the first or second year. They started studying about finance and other industries. Let's say if you want to get into VC, market research and the industry research is one core skill that you will develop or you need to develop. So you'll kind of start working on that, get mentors from different areas in which you're looking forward to. It all comes down to the question where whether you want to get into management roles when you're into second year. So if you have realized that, okay, engineering is not my cup of tea, then how do I study for this, complete this 4 years of education and go into a different profile job function altogether? This is one thing. And then I guess, yeah, let others add.
Yeah, so that's a great question, Nikhil. So yeah, I myself have wondered a lot of times how to get into a management role or a business-related role without doing an MBA. And many times I've got the answer that, I mean, when I was doing the search of my own, I got the answer that if you can try to get into a smaller firm, wherein you can, the chances of you getting exposure to many other business verticals is much higher. That could be a great start. Maybe in a startup, which is like maybe moderate 30 to 50 people. And if you can get in as a technical contributor, there's a high amount of chance that you'll get involved in many other aspects of the startup, that's the business verticals. So that could be one way of doing it. And the other way, as obviously Tarun mentioned, networking and trying to understand which are the companies who would really take or who would give you a chance without doing an MBA into the business verticals. So I think, I mean, very limited knowledge on this aspect. I think Sukriti and Kartik can add on it.
So I think I can compare to my friends who did move to management ladders right after college. And one thing that Rohit mentioned is common between, I mean, amongst all of them is basically they started with startups. And startups give you a chance to move up to management ladder because you are actually working in all the fields. You are working on marketing, you're working on like, operations all at once, and that's how you actually learn by working and not by studying on courses. And it's a live experience. That's what we do in MBA as well. You are trying to create a project that gives you a live experience, and that's how we learn in MBA. And while you are doing live on the job, working in a startup, you gain that management experience. You build your profile, you build your career that ways. And you move up to ladder, and at some point if you want to start your own company, that's the best experience you can ever have, because you have worked in a company that grew from zero to nothing basically. And that's why I think it's very important, if you want to grow your career in that ways, you can work in startups. And I have seen my friends grew from a lot of friends when I was sort of graduating. Oyo was one company that was still growing, and I have seen my friends, my seniors grew up to the ladder very quickly by learning so many things, and a lot of my friends are in management positions. So it's up to you, like find a company, find a startup. You can even have your own startup, start it up on your own. You would fail, that's fine. Failure actually happens even in MBA, even while doing projects. But that actually helps you grow, help you learn and everything. And I guess Nikhil agrees to my most of the point because he's facing it, but that's about it.
Yeah, Nikhil, I mean, just one point on that note, when Sukriti mentioned about the failures, actually, some of the main colleges, for example, INSEAD, really looks at your profile and checks whether have you failed in your career or not. So they really give value if you have failed. I mean, I'm not telling you have to fail, but many times what happens is the entrepreneurs, they fail in the first or second go, and that is actually a major boost for them to take them in, because they understand why the business fails, and they are looking for answers. And those are the people who would contribute the most in MBA and who would absorb the most in MBA. So relating back to the earlier question about the experience, yes, I mean, a little bit of experience really helps you in grasping the concepts and the lecture, whatever is being delivered in the class. So, I mean, that's my take on failures and how you should get the experience before doing an MBA.
Okay, so let's move to something a little bit more primitive here. So a lot of people, ask about, and again, this is a very typical Indian mindset here. Okay, not to generalize it, but we focus a lot on the test scores. We have to nail the GMAT, we have to nail the GRE, we have to nail the CAT, 99.9, 760, 770. Okay. Can you guys tell about your GMATs or GRE scores if you're comfortable, and how did you prepare and plan for it? And what are the other factors did you consider, while showcasing your profile to your target business schools? And yes, one important thing again, if you can mention what other schools that you applied, while you were considering your MBA application, it also helps our audience understand, what are the other scopes that they can probably look out for.
Can I start? If no one is going ahead. So yes, I did. I got 670 in my GMAT. But before that, I think the starting point for me was the aim of doing an MBA. Was it? When I spoke to my colleagues or my classmates, there were a lot of reasons. They wanted a career acceleration. They wanted global exposure. They wanted more exposure into the business verticals. So I was really sure that I wanted these two things: that the global exposure and the business vertical exposure. And that was the deciding criteria for selecting the college. And then I chose which colleges would give me that kind of experience. And obviously, as I considered US and UK, these were some of the colleges which would have accepted my GMAT score. And that's how that's, I think, was the starting point for me. I think, is there any other question that you asked right now?
No, absolutely. Just the test scores and the preparation strategies. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, guys. Any other one wants to pick this up?
Yeah, I can go ahead. My GMAT score was 690 after trying twice. So in the second attempt, it was also 690. So I knew that, okay, it's okay that I'm unable to cross 700, and it's okay. I'll start applying in the 690 to like 670 to 720 kind of range colleges. One thing you need to realize is that two ways to look at it. One is the hard way, like score a 780 GMAT, go into a top B school, get into consulting. But other like this is one set of students that enter. Then there's other set who like admissions. People look at look at your profile holistically. So you need to have something out of your work. You kind of build your profile, extracurricular activities, you do something. So that's how you compensate for a GMAT score. And sometimes like the competition is so tough that let's say you are unable to cross 750 and still you want to get into Harvard. See that what are the other parameters the college is looking into. You must have done something out of work. First of all, excel at your work and do something out of work. Build up your profile, create an impact. That's how you build your profile and get into those colleges. GMAT is just one part. You like this full set of applications, essays, your interviews, your academics, everything is looked into, not just one test score. Yeah. Yeah. So if Sukriti has to add something.
Yeah, as Tarun mentioned, I mean, it's not just one test score that is really important for colleges in the US. I did not have a very good GMAT score. I was on the same lines as Tarun and Rohit. I was not 700 plus. And while I was looking for colleges in the US, I realized that it's not just the score that matters. Different colleges have different criteria in actually shortlisting their applicants, and GMAT is just a part of it. If you can even apply to Harvard, MIT with those scores, because they're also looking at your profiles, your recommendations, and it's not just one exam and then you're out. And that's also good. I'm not saying that's bad. You can ace anything that you want to. But for me, I did not want to wait for another year to give one more exam, and that's just my opinion. And that's why I also selected a college that's not in India, that's outside, so that if I'm not able to prepare more on a particular exam, I can build my profile. I can get a world-class experience. I can get recommendations from someone who has reputation in the industry, in the company. So that's what I did. I did not build my profile through my GMAT score. I built my profile through my experience, through my recommendations, through my SOP, and even my the activities that I did at IIT-BHU. And I know a lot of you have already been working in co-curricular activities within IIT-BHU, and trust me, that plays a really long game. This will be counted as your achievements while you are applying for colleges, and that's not just true for US. That's true for India as well.
Okay. So yeah, just before moving from GMAT, just to give audience a little bit of clarity, because a lot of people don't know, and this is something we being the official partners for ETS, we kind of confirmed with them. So guys, GMAT is good. It's somewhere more preferred. But again, if you're good with GRE is also equally acceptable at most of the business schools all over the world. Okay. And again, when I say it with the authority on my back that yes, it's confirmed. You can always go for GRE or GMAT. A lot of people find difficulty with GMAT, so GRE is again one of the options. And then one pointer which I recently found out, that you can also study abroad with your good CAT scores. With even 98, 99 percentile, not a lot of people get calls from IIMs because of their other factors which fails to stand out. So I've seen people studying in ESCP, ESSEC, HEC, EDEC, with full funding, with partial funding at a global business school. So those are also the options that you guys can have. this was just something my learning, which I basically, I'm seeing a lot of comments on that, so I thought I'll put it across. Talking about the cat, Kartik, it's the hard path, I feel somewhere. So please help us with this.
Yeah, sure. So talking about India, I think, yeah, definitely, as most of you would know, that CAT is one of the most important exams. So definitely there is a higher emphasis on the score, but I would say IIMs are now moving to a more diversified strategy now. So by that, I mean that even though the CAT weightage is still high, but there are other parameters also that are taken into account when IIMs give you an interview call. So it is also related to your previous academic course. Now the work experience is also getting taken into account, and they count points on work experience as well. They have diversity for gender, they have diversity for academic background, which unfortunately doesn't apply to engineers. But yeah, so I just to give you a broader sense that it's more of now a diversified, you can say, criteria that IIMs are also taking into account when they give you an interview call. Apart from that, ISB, as you would know, would take GMAT and GRE into when they have their flagship 1-year program. They take GMAT and GRE scores. And yeah, so ISB's criteria is more or less on the similar lines of a foreign B school, where they also ask you for SOPs, they ask you for essays, and they ask you for recommendations, etc. But yeah, talking about the IIMs, the path is CAT, and then you get shortlisted, and then the interview calls are being done based on the criteria that I defined.
Okay, so I think the test scores are definitely important, but what we learned from all of the panelists is it's an overall profile for you which is going to stand out. And again, most of the panelists who are from one of the good universities, 760 or 770 is a good score to have if you have it, but just in the race of getting a very high score, don't let your overall profile fall out on that note, and that's something you would be able to understand. Okay, let's do a little bit of a quick fire. 5 pointers that you need to tell. Okay, that these are the things in your profile which should be there, or can be there, which is going to help in your preschool application. Just 5 pointers. I don't need a long paragraph here. I just need 5 quick pointers which you felt. Okay, these are the things that I should be ticking off if I'm going for my MBA. In terms of the profile or your resume. So students would definitely take it and then probably do their homework. But let's give them a basic pointers to start off with.
Okay, so maybe I can begin. So specifically talking about the context in India, I think academic scores is one. So second part would be your extracurriculars, be it your positions of responsibility or be it any other extracurriculars. That is also important because that gives you a talking point to when you got there in the interview. The third part, I would say, if you have work experience, that's very good because that is also adding to your overall profile. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it from my side. I could give 3.
I think I'll have just 2 points over here, not more than that, because I mean, yeah, especially coming to a foreign college, first and foremost important thing would be a professional, good career track record, how you have transitioned over a period of time, especially for the fact that they are looking out for people who have got like 3+ years of experience. So you need to show a good, solid track record, and you need to be in control of your career. That is the first thing. And the second thing is they are looking for a performance in your life. It need not be on academics. It can be on academics. It can be on extracurricular activities. It can be on something else. But that should be the highlight of your life. As in that should define you as a person. So if you have attained that particular peak in your life, that means that you are so determined and you are a go-to guy in terms when it comes to a burning problem. So these 2 aspects, I would say, stands out the most when it comes to an application towards a foreign MBA college.
Yeah, Sukriti, go ahead.
Okay. I will add only 2 points. One is very basic and one is niche. And the basic one is basically your recommendation. Your recommendation is highly important. who you're working with, your manager. It can be even your, not just your supervisor, but someone from the management team. If you end up working in a big company, and you do end up working with a huge, like big stakeholders, huge management positions and everything, if you can get a recommendation from them, that's like a pointer for some colleges abroad, because they are recognized people, and uh, getting a good rapport with them will help you reach to that level. Everyone recognizes that you've worked in a company and you've worked at that level where a management person is recognizing your efforts. That's a great job. So that's one basic thing. The second niche thing I would say, which may not, which is partly adding to Rohit's point, is your experience, not just the work experience, your experience in life. Which means if you've moved someone's life, that's very important. It can be your friend, it can be uh, someone, it can be anyone. To be honest, if you've moved someone's life, that's one experience that you're adding towards your life, which is not just your work experience, but something that you've gained in your life as an experience, that has changed someone's life, that has changed things for you, and you've gained experience, you've learned a lot. And looking at that, people will think that you are a person who can take initiatives out of your boundaries to help someone achieve their goals, to help. It can be anything as small as helping someone to get a job. So count that as one of your greatest strengths when you're thinking of an MBA or any other courses.
Excellent point. The last point by all the points by Sukriti. So the last point specifically could count into extracurriculars, which is my first point. So we kind of underestimate that we haven't done the extracurriculars. It can be anything actually. So let's say you were mentoring someone, or let's say you were helping someone to crack the IIT in while during your undergrad study. So that is also one kind of extracurricular activities which you're doing outside of your work. So that would be one point, like search a profile, like what can be done outside. Then the second point I would say is excel in your work, do well, create an impact, move the needle, move the metrics in what you are given. If you are given a task, you should be able to perform well. And like, if obviously if you're not able to perform there, then kind of search for other activities where you are good at. So that will help in building your profile, that okay, I was given a task, I gave more than 100%. I was asked to move the metric to X, I moved to 1.2x or 1.5x. Third point would be practice problem solving and structural thinking. Solve cases, which we kind of do in colleges and right now in undergrad colleges as well. Solve cases that will help you in top-down problem solving. Then the fourth point would be research well. Like, know what you're doing. Don't just get into MBA just for the sake of it. If anyone asks you about your career choices or the certain points or turning points in your career, you should be able to tell that, okay, this is how I kind of realized and got into it. The last point would be know your strengths and weaknesses, things you are good at, right from school, your high school, your college, things you're good at, things you excel at, things you lack, so that you should be able to work if needed down your career. Yeah. Thank you.
Interesting. So I think, guys, you all have gotten a good amount of profile building tips. I asked for 5. I think we gotten like 25. But yes, this is good because again, a lot of kids, including me, a lot of people used to tell me like, Nikhil, you should do an MBA, and I ended up doing a PhD, which I eventually didn't finish it. So that's another story. But the idea is to basically build up your profile, and that good profile could lead to a good B school, or eventually at least will get you a better career. So last few questions, which is, I think it's more like a concern questions. All this looks good. MBA is definitely a good choice, or else MIM or MSBA. There are different kinds of choices that we can pick it up. Then the question comes is the job prospects. When you were doing an MBA, how did you look for your internships, the jobs? How do you now reflect back or probably plan for the ROI? Because ROI is again a very, very big concern for a middle class Indian student who is planning for MBA on that note. So what are your pointers or your preparation strategies that, hey, if you want to go for US or Europe or UK or even in IIM, this is how you're going to be focusing on your 1 or 2 years so that you end up definitely getting a good amount of interview calls or jobs. So yeah.
Yeah, Kartik, go ahead.
Okay. I think I'll try and wrap up quickly the Indian context, and then Rohit, Tarun, and Sukriti can talk about the foreign part. So if you talk about the job prospects in India, at least in the IIMs, I think they are really, really bright. So I think one thing that you should definitely be very careful of, that you don't go into a rat race kind of a thing that we did in engineering. So basically there you have a lot of options in different fields. So talking about marketing, finance, consulting, operations, product management, etc. And there are top companies in each of these fields that are visiting the campus. So you need to be sure that, okay, now that you are here in a management school, you are at least aligned on the interest in the field that you want to go to. And each field has a different strategy of preparation. So talking about consulting in general, so we end up solving a lot of cases. So we do case preps, etc., with our buddies and even with our peers, so that we get an idea of how problem solving is and how we develop a top-down kind of a communication as well as a top problem solving skills. So each domain follows a different type of preparation strategy. But I think one point to keep in mind over here would be, like, you should definitely be deciding and firm on what your interest is, and based on that you then sit for a particular company, and then you get a shortlist. So I think the first point is about interest, and second point is about following the preparation strategy for a particular field. It's not very specific. It's not like a general strategy that you follow. It generally varies according to the fields that you choose.
Great points, Kartik. I can add from a foreign school kind of a scenario. So in what I have seen in Indian V schools, you get a day 0, day 1, day 2 kind of placements, even in internships and your full-time job search. The same doesn't happen exactly in foreign V schools. So it works differently. Maybe a certain percentage of jobs and internships would come through placements, through your placement coordinators will come to campus. Otherwise, most of the times you have to network. When in networking, you kind of realize that, okay, I want to work in this sector. Let me find a part-time internship or a full-time internship in this particular sector. For example, if you're from a technical background and if you want to, say, get into VC firms, so VC firms won't directly hire if you go for a full-time. So maybe try doing an internship in a VC firm, convince them, network with them, what applies there, what kind of requirements are there. Once you get into those kind of firms, then you kind of see that maybe you are thinking that VC is your cup of tea, and then when you go ahead and do the internship, you realize that, okay, this is not something I want to do. Same thing sometimes happens in consulting as well. People go with a mindset that they want to go into consulting. They kind of spend 2-3 months in an internship, realize that, okay, consulting not something I'm looking for. Let me try and explore other options. So this is also one of the things that you kind of experiment. Sometimes you just play a safe game. Okay, I want to go into product management, get a product management internship somehow, convert it to a PPO. And then there are a few colleges in which you have set 2-3 months given for internship. Some colleges are flexible because of the classes. You can go ahead and do multiple internships so that you kind of realize where you want to get into. So it's all about theory plus practical after first year of your MBA, maybe. Yeah.
I think Tarun absolutely on dot with that answer. I mean, networking is the foremost and most important aspect when it comes to job hunting, at least in the countries abroad. And the most beautiful aspect of networking is that you get to know, or you get a real feel of what you're going to do if you are getting hired in that company. And just a one-to-one comparison between how you get hired in a company in Indian B schools, as Kartik rightly mentioned, and to networking events and networking opportunities in the other countries. You you connect with some person in an event and try to understand what their company do and how you can contribute and what exactly they're looking out for. And then if you can really fit into that particular role, then you approach them in the next meeting. So before joining the company itself, you absolutely know, and they are also absolutely sure that what you can contribute to that company. So I think that is the most beautiful aspect of networking, and I think even in India, you should try and adopt these kinds of networking opportunities, and I think that will pay a long way in taking a career to the next step, and not just get into a company just for the sake of its name, maybe like XYZ name. Yes, that obviously adds value to your CV in a, I mean, in a aesthetic way, but you may not be completely satisfied with the career prospect, or you may be in for the surprise as and when you start working for that company. So that's the difference that I've seen in Indian culture and the culture abroad.
I don't have much to say. I think Tarun, Kartik, and Rohit covered a lot of it. But I can share. I could actually relate when Tarun and Rohit mentioned a few things, and that was I think networking is very very important. And the reason I'm saying is I can give you an example. That I I did an internship because of networking while I was doing my MBA. One thing that I would mention is, which is not yet being mentioned, is when you're working, when you're getting an experience, even when you're working in India, uh, you are doing a job that is being recognized by a lot of people. Those people know a lot of people who can vouch for you in other companies as well. And that's how the networking mechanism is being built. And that's how I also got a job internship while I was doing my MBA. I got my manager was the same that was the manager in Flipkart, to be honest. And that has helped me because while I was working, he recognized my work and he knew when I went there. And so build your foundation right from when you start working in a company. If you're in India and you decide to do an MBA abroad, don't ever think that you're not going to work here. Those people also matter. You start building your networking from day one of your job, right after from your college. So that's one thing that I wanted to add.
Just a small point from my side. So, listening to Rohit, Tarun, and Sukriti talking about networking, I would not undermine the networking requirement in an Indian B school as well. So, yeah, just to go back to that point of, how do you develop your interest and how do you select a particular field? And in Indian context, that is done through networking, right? So you talk to your alums, you talk to your seniors in the B school, and you get to know about their experiences and their job and internship experience. So that helps a lot to actually know that what was their specific role or that specific company, what at what position or for what role are they coming to the campus. So in terms of networking, I would definitely agree to the other panelists, but I would also say that even in the Indian context, networking really helps, because at the end you have to be very sure and understand what the role is, right? And that you can't only understand by reading the job description on the placement portal. You have to go through to people, talk to them, and who have been there in the companies. So yeah, networking is definitely important, but yeah, the other point is it's slightly, you can say, relegated in the Indian context and more important in the foreign context. That's how I would put it.
Just to add, because again, this got me charged up when I got the buzzword like networking, and I have been, my career has been the gift of networking, honestly. Whatever internships, jobs that I have gotten to do, even I found my co-founder using networking from IIT Bombay. And we were like old quota friends. Found him on LinkedIn when he was in US, and we kind of connected, and we started ForeignAdmits just remotely, as we speak. So, guys, LinkedIn is really good. Again, not to promote a particular platform, but most of the platforms that we see now, LinkedIn holds a very high priority as a social identity for you in the professional world. And I see a lot of students still are not very active on LinkedIn, but on Instagram or Facebook. I would recommend personally, if you are looking to speak to any of the top guys or in the academy or management or industry, you should be on LinkedIn, and because these guys are also available on LinkedIn, and it's easier to approach them. It's easier to build your personal branding and be visible on those contexts. Just how I think many of the speakers that I found only via LinkedIn, right? So it's very easier to connect to people, and LinkedIn could easily help you to get those internships and jobs. Definitely other profile factors is really important, but yes, having a good LinkedIn profile is also one of the important things when you're out for networking globally. So with this, I think we come to the end of this session. Okay. Just few pointers again. One small rapid fire. Yes, no, and then probably the last tips. Okay. Uh, I would still focus on, the cost management perspective. One very important thing is your day-to-day costs, your loan, if you are taking a loan or not. So any of you guys took a loan, yes or no, quickly? And do you guys feel that you will be able to do the ROI part very well? If not, what do you reflect back and probably do the ROI? Anything on that note?
I can start. Yes, let's say I was earning X before the college fees was 2.5x. I took a loan of 2x. And then I was seeing whether I will be able to earn more than 2x or 2.5x in that, let's say, market. So I'm also at the end of my MBA, and with the COVID scenes and everything, it's all a different thing right now. But when you look for it, you'd kind of definitely see the opportunity cost. You were earning X in the 2 years, you will earn 2x, and kind of you're sacrificing again 2x. So that's like 4x cost. How much time will you take to pay back the loans if you're like kind of think in that scenario as well? That's all, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, coming back to the question, yes, I took the loan, and I think, yeah, I mean, I do not have any number or calculation in mind, but yeah, I mean, I think as we discussed earlier, not just a monetary aspect, but over a long-term run, the career benefits and the other benefits, obviously, I think it was a worthwhile investment. I think that's the answer. Yeah.
Yeah, so even I took a loan, but I would say that from an ROI perspective, it definitely helps. Going back to the calculation, so if I was earning X, the current fees in MBA for India is around 2 to 2.5x. This multiplier is higher for the foreign B schools, and hence we worry more about the ROI. But yeah, even if you talk about the salary packages that you can kind of get after graduating from Indian B school, that ranges from 2.5x to 3x. So that will definitely help you to, overcome and recover the whatever financial obligations you have. So yeah, I think that answers the question from my side.
I'm not speaking because I didn't take a loan. uh, but I was almost about to take a loan. Then I got a scholarship, so I hadn't got a chance to take a loan. But as everyone mentioned, it's true. While I was almost taking a loan, the things I was calculating on was fees, and then what are the job prospects that I'll go into after this, and will it give me a break-even point within 2 years, 3 years, and what was the time period? And that's one thing that you should look at.
Absolutely. I think loan is not a bad thing, guys. If you're looking towards MBA, again, no one's earning like $100,000 in the first 2 years of their jobs in India usually. So, you can always take up a loan, and there are a bunch of great options from banks to NBFCs. Again, not quoting any particular thing, but then if you have connections in the banks, go for government banks. Else, there are non-collateral based NBFCs that you can pick it up. I think a couple of them are like Prodigy and all. So they are really, and again, just to give a context, Prodigy Finance country head is our alumnus. So yes, there's always a good probably assurance that you can get. But taking the final comments, what is that one tip that you feel, you want to give back to the students who are in their first to final year, that these 5 years, because again, they are very much charged. I'm seeing comments like, I'm in my first year, what do I do to get into an MBA? Okay, people would get overwhelmed with this. So what's your tip around, you know what to do in the career. You guys have spent considerable amount of time. Some of you have spent a good amount of time in your career. So what's your tip towards the students of IIT-BHU or any other students who are watching this?
If there's one thing you can take away from my experience and perspective is, think about MBA not as a destination but as a journey. It can be there, it cannot be there. You can have a different journey altogether. Sometimes people excel obviously without MBA also. It's not like don't anchor your career around an MBA. Talk to people, learn from the experience, the mistakes that they have made, or this would be my kind of my 2 cents. Yeah.
From me, I would say, think about your career and where you want to really get with respect to your career ambitions. And in that, if MBA helps, then that could be a bridge between the current situation and the future goals that you have. Otherwise, just for the sake of doing an MBA, obviously it's a mistake. That's a big no from my side. And once you think that MBA would bridge the gap between the present scenario and the future you, then you should start building on your overall profile. As we all discussed, Sukriti, Kartik, and Tarun just discussed, you should start building your overall profile and try to get your overall personality molded to get yourself into an MBA. So yeah, that's it from my end.
I think one piece of advice, again, it's a repetitive one, but as Rohit mentioned, don't do it just for the sake of MBA. I have seen many people who are doing specialization in other fields, and be it just not the engineering, but people have done masters in environmental science, which is not maybe related to your current branch that you are in. But do look at the career prospects. Where do you want to see yourself, and then decide on getting an MBA. Just don't do it because your friend is doing it, because everyone in the class is doing it. You won't be left behind. If you feel like this is your interest, this is your career goal, which is not achieved by doing MBA but by something else, go for it. Any career choice that you make, you just have to be determined enough to achieve it. It doesn't matter whether you do an MBA or not. But if you do become that part of the crowd where you decide to do an MBA, do it with your 200% of your determination. That's very important. Don't go into it and then decide what should I do now. Decide before getting an MBA that what do you want after MBA. Don't decide, like, don't do it like we did in IIT-BHU, like we got into it, then don't do it, because it's not your professional career that we're talking about. And more amount of seriousness is involved at this point, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I just got a good comment. You could be a Jack Sparrow with your compass, and you can probably drive, your ways around it, just like Jack Sparrow did. So you can always figure it out. MBA is again not the end goal. The end goal is much beyond MBA that you are going to have. So with this, I formally, conclude the session and hand over. I believe we have taken all the questions in the thorough chat, and I tried to ensure that we kind of take most of these questions, and that's why the session got elongated. But yes, I hope all of the audience would have enjoyed, all of the panelists would have enjoyed, probably taking a refreshing memory for your MBAs. So thank you. I hand over to Bhavya. Bhavya, you can take over from here.
Thank you, sir, for that. And yeah, Team SAIC would like to thank all the panelists, 6 panelists, wholeheartedly for spending their time, valuable time, and for giving us good insights into MBA opportunities. I thank Mr. Rohit Mohan sir, Mr. Tarun Krishnani, Ms. Sukriti Bhardwaj, Ms. Anamika Singh, Mr. Nikhil Jain, and Mr. Kartik Singla. Thank you, sirs and ma'ams. And I would also like to thank all the audience for their patience. So once again, thank you all. I hope that you have enjoyed this session and have a great day ahead.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you for making us part of this.
All the best. Bye-bye.